Good morning and welcome to Today in LA. We're talking it through a drum this morning on a Monday in Troy, Alabama. And with me, Forrest Lee, my good friend. And we're waiting on Bill Rice Jr. And Jr. has entered the building, not left the building.
January the 11th, it's Alabama versus Ohio State tonight. And looking forward to that game.
Big game, and boy, the hype has been on it all weekend long. A lot of people are wondering all the way up to the last minute, will they play the game? And evidently, they've given the go-ahead. At least they're supposed to have it yesterday. Bill Rice Jr., do you have a report on that?
They're on. They have all passed their final COVID test.
So the game is on 7 o'clock kick. Is that right?
Yep.
That's
in the
Central Time.
Central Time. If you lived in Eastern Time, it would be 8 o'clock.
And
going back to Miami.
We've got a lot of other things to talk about. Coaching changes. A lot of new guys going to Auburn. They're making looks like putting together quite a staff, and that's going to be something to see. Former Georgia quarterback and. Bobo is going to be his offensive coordinator, it looks like. Is that right?
That is correct.
And then, of course, big news is Zacchaeus Etheridge, the great Zach Etheridge that played his high school football right here in Troy, is now an official member of the Auburn staff.
He's going to be the defensive backs coach. And one thing about Zach, in 2009, on Halloween Day, they were playing Ole Miss, and his helmet collided with the shoulder of Antonio Coleman, his teammate, while they were trying to tackle Rodney Scott. And Zach was on top of Scott, and that player from Ole Miss knew something was wrong with Zach. And come to find out, he was partially paralyzed at the time. He had torn ligaments in his neck. His fifth vertebra was cracked, and he had surgery and was in a neck and shoulder brace for 4 months.
Yeah.
Was cleared the next August. He was the team captain.
Did he sit out 1 year, or
no?
Was it that same year?
The next year. He did not play the rest of that year, but he had to go to Texas to get finally cleared by a doctor out there.
Yeah.
He was voted team captain and played on the national championship game that Auburn won 22-19 versus Oregon. And now you know the rest of the story of Zach. And he uses that as a motivational tool for his players. Hey, what if you can't play tomorrow? What are you going to be able to do?
Many people say, what is this guy doing? Gosh, he could break his neck again. It could kill him, and I'm sure the doctors probably told him there was some risk, But you know what? That guy, he wanted to play football, and he finished at Auburn and been coaching ever since. He's been at several different places.
Yes, sir. He's been at, of course, he tried out for the Oakland Raiders and hurt his knee, so he didn't get to play much pro football. He's coached at Penn State, Georgia Tech, Western Carolina, Louisiana Lafayette, and most recently at Houston, and now he will be with the Auburn Tigers.
32
and you don't hear
years old, position coach, defensive back coach at Auburn University.
Probably at the most making about at least $500,000 a year, wouldn't you think?
At least 300,000.
Yeah.
And Corey Dennis, another Charles Citizen grad, will be coaching tonight in the Ohio State game. So congratulations to Corey Dennis.
And
he's about 28 or 29.
That's
he's
right.
Not very old. He played
married to Urban Meyer's daughter, and he's
They're both
done
making
well.
more than 99% of the people in Clark County.
Exactly. Of course, Auburn continuing to build their staff. Of course, we talked about Bobo, who had been a head coach at Colorado State, and the former Georgia quarterback is going to run his offense, and a guy named Brad Bedell is coming in to coach the tight ends. I don't know how many coaches they hire, but I know that's 6 or 7 they've already hired.
Yeah, well, Derek Mason's going to be the defensive coordinator.
Yeah, the former
and
Vanderbilt
they did not
coach.
retain Coach Steele, right?
That's right, but had to
Mason.
pay him a buyout, though. I think he had a buyout of $4 or $5 million, something like that. Yeah, for an assistant coach. But he was making over $2 million a
So
year.
he's still being paid, or just got
Yeah.
paid.
And I don't know if he'll even try to get on another staff anytime soon, but it's just according. I've always heard that if you joined another staff, that you had to it nullifies you of getting
Well, they cut it by
all
that
the
amount.
whole lump.
They offset
fund, yeah.
so if you're getting paid $80,000 a month in your buyout, and then you go and get a new job, and that's paying you $40,000 a month, your buyout becomes $40,000.
Yeah. Wherever you watch the game tonight, be careful. The virus is going strong. Rice, give us a report on that.
Well, let's see. It's going strong.
Wear those masks.
A lot of cases. I think hospitalizations are up in a lot in some places, but in some places they're not. Deaths are up. What concerns me is that I'm seeing more and more people with severe cases who are younger or didn't have existing health conditions, which that was not as much the case early on. So that's really, we all know people that are, just fighting for their life right now.
I'm going in Wednesday to have some procedures done, and I'm not sure I've got a room in Birmingham.
Yeah.
So and that's coming up Wednesday, and surely, I'm not going to go up there for nothing. That they'll have a room for me, but it's the way it goes right now. The hospital beds throughout the state of Alabama, most of them are full.
Well, in all the big city hospitals, I bet they are. Because they draw patients from throughout the state.
Well, and then some people say, "Well, I need a room." They start shopping around, and and then most of the time, if they find one, they'll send them by helicopter to that facility. So, of course, it's some serious business going on out there with this virus.
Well,
and the thing about it, Rice, it doesn't seem like it's getting any better, and we actually have a vaccine. Yeah.
Well, I think it's going to get better when the cold and flu season ends. I think it's obviously seasonal, that it's going to be worse in November, December, January, and February. So maybe when the weather warms up, you'll have fewer cases. And the vaccine, I did hear that 2% of the United States population has now received it. About 7 million people, at least their first dose. There's
7 million people have received the vaccine.
Out of 330 million. So
well, I know a lot of people that hadn't received it yet, and of course, it's going to be hard to do.
They're doing it in stages by age, and I believe now, don't call the number to get your appointment unless you're in that age group.
That's right, yeah.
And that's what's happening. A lot of people are calling that aren't in the age group, and it's blowing up the circuit board.
So right here in Pike County, Alabama,
jamming
is there any chance for somebody to be able to get the shot, Bill?
I think if you're over 75 years of age, you call that 1-800 number or 188 number. You call and set up your appointment. I know it's been difficult. I know one person had to call multiple times and finally got in. But what's happening is people under the age of 75 are calling, and it's not their turn to call. Wait until your window is available to call to set up an appointment.
I don't know how they're doing it and where you get the shot and where you don't. I saw a story about Florida where there's a controversy that people that aren't citizens of Florida are getting the shot ahead of people who are. A lot of snowbirds.
How about prisoners? They're saying now, should they go ahead and give the vaccine to the prisoners ahead of people? They've had a lot of prisoners that have died from the virus, but now what do you do? Do you put people that are incarcerated? That is the right word, isn't it?
Close.
In jail.
Or you're in jail. And I'm not making fun of people in jail, but what I'm saying is, should they get the shot before?
Well, that's called a congregate setting where the virus
That's
spreads.
right.
It's like a ship. or
That's right.
a prison, a dorm, I guess.
And then, you're right, and that could save a lot of other people's lives, you know. You're right.
Well, I can see why prisons would be at the, higher up on the list, for sure.
Already.
And nursing homes, of course, surely they've already done it at nursing homes, or that should be the very highest priority.
Yeah, no question about it. We're looking at Monday, the January the 11th, and it is the day of the big game, Alabama and Auburn. Alabama and Ohio State. I want to say Auburn. That's what my next topic was going to be. Did you see how Alabama goes in and beats Auburn?
I know it.
And this guy that's coaching at Alabama must be a heck of a coach, because Auburn has a good basketball team. But Alabama just shot lights out yesterday, and then of course tonight the big one, Alabama and Ohio State for the national championship. And there's been a lot of hype, and I tell you, the most hype of any ball game is the Super Bowl. I mean, it goes on for 2 weeks. Well, this doesn't go on but for a week, but the hype is out there right now. Alabama is a 9-point favorite.
9 points?
9-point favorite, and the over-under is 75 points.
That 9 points seems mighty high to me. I've been doing my due diligence, my research, watching all the ESPN had some great shows where they broke down both teams and the matchups. And Ohio, as an Alabama fan, Ohio State really scares me. That they've got a running back, Mike, who's averaging 9.1 yards a carry his last 3 games.
Trey Sermon.
9.1 yards
Georgia.
a carry. They've got 2 receivers one of them looks like a little clone of Devontae Smith that are great. Great offensive line. Better defensive line than Alabama has. Good linebackers, or better than Alabama has. And they just pulverize Clemson. So I don't get the 9-point spread.
They're starting 22 are mostly juniors and seniors.
Yeah.
Now the backups are mostly freshmen and a few sophomores, but their first 22, most of them are juniors and seniors, so there's experience there.
Yeah.
They may have a little sophomore thrown in there here or yonder, but
I looked at last year's regular season, and I'd forgotten that the Ohio State got beat by Clemson in the semifinals last year in a game they could have won. They were leading a lot of the games.
16-0, wasn't it? At one time?
Yeah.
But I went back and looked at the scores of Ohio State's regular season games. They just beat the mess out of everybody on this. They were scoring 48 points a game. You're
talking about Ohio State?
Ohio State.
Yeah.
I think the closest game they had was 20 points, the margin.
The one thing.
A lot of those players are back.
The one thing that I see that on Alabama, even against Clemson, Alabama can run. Alabama can really run on defense, and they would have to really tackle this guy to have if they can't stop him, and they can be balanced throwing and running the ball. Good morning, you on today in L.A. How you doing?
Hey, morning.
Where you calling from this morning?
A rainy Great Beach. It's starting to rain down here.
Well, it's raining here, and I thought that we might get some, excuse my language, precipitation. But it's not quite cold enough to snow. It doesn't look like.
It's snowing in Jackson, Mississippi.
It is?
Yeah.
So it's heading this way then.
My wife, last night it was, my wife has a good friend that lives in Jackson, and she sent her some video of snow on their car hoods, and
Of course, we're honoring the.
In Jackson, Mississippi, it's snowing in the pond.
Oh, it is. Yeah, exactly. You were talking about the Alabama-Auburn game, how the line has gone up. Alabama started off at a 7-point favorite. Now they've got it here as an 8.5-point favorite, but I've heard that it's gone as high as 9, and the over/under is 75.
I hope that Alabama's not playing Auburn tonight in Ohio State.
Amen, Ohio State. We're also talking about the Alabama.
What did I
Auburn
say? Oh
basketball
gosh, my bad. My bad. But
Alabama's finally found a basketball coach. I
That's what we were talking about.
They're winning games while their starting point guard, the Quigley kid that transferred in from Villanova.
Yeah.
So the sky's the limit for this basketball team.
Evidently, the way they're recruiting now, can they recruit in basketball like they're doing in football? Just take a guy that's got a year of eligibility and say, "Come play for me." Is that how it works?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the way it is.
Matter of fact, I was looking at the box score and the Alabama-Auburn game, and half the Alabama players, I didn't even know who they were. I hadn't even heard their names because half of them were transfers. It's hard to keep up with it.
That was a very impressive Clemson team. I mean, or actually Ohio State team that beat Clemson. I'm thinking, Mike, and this is why I think this thing might have gone up. I think people regard Alabama as being a little bit bigger, better, and faster than Clemson this year. I didn't think Clemson's quarterback played that well in that game.
Well, I mean, I don't think their offense is anywhere close to, they lost a great receiver out of Phoenix City, Justin Ross.
Yeah.
And then
Neck
they lost
injury.
a couple other guys, and their offensive line was not near as good as they've been in the past. I mean, they still had Lawrence, but an ETM and running back, but I didn't think their receivers and their offensive line compared to the teams that beat Alabama.
Yeah. Well, one thing, too, the key is can Alabama stop Ohio State's run? I'm not saying one thing about Ohio State, they're like Alabama. They've got great balance. They both run the ball well and they pass the ball well. But you've got to slow down one. Which one would you slow down? Don't you think Alabama will slow down their rush?
I don't know.
I mean, bad news out of Alabama, though, is Malachi Moore, the freshman All-American, is not going to play. Looks like he's out.
What is it the virus or what is it?
No, he's just injured. He's a great player out of Hewitt Trustful.
Yeah.
If anybody wants Alabama play this year, he played a lot of big plays.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Ryan Branch stepped up, the kid out of Texas, and played well against Notre Dame, but losing anybody in the secondary tonight is going to be a big thing. And then they're saying now that Jalen Waddle's a game-time decision. I heard from my sources that he was looking full speed and looking great in practice, and now, possible not even play. So that's going to be a big difference for stretch in the field.
Well,
He had him stretching the field tonight. I feel a lot better about Alabama's offense as well.
yeah. Well,
Playing the cards.
you're
coach.
right. And, of course,
Alabama's going to have a hard time with their backup center trying to block that high school guy.
that big tight end, the defensive nose guard.
Defensive lineman in the country got shot in the face before the season. Got shot in the face and played the whole season.
Yeah.
So I'm really worried about the center position tonight against Ohio State.
Well, he's a fifth-year senior, so
Well, of course, that's
Well, I did see that somebody, there's services out there that grade these players, and he graded 47.9% against Notre Dame.
that's not very good. Oh, boy.
48%.
And this big guy, they might, you're right, he could create havoc. Losing the All-American center is going to really hurt Alabama, especially with the big brutes. I'm talking about 335, 340, 350 across the front for Ohio State. And
they got after Lawrence. I don't know how many times they sacked him, but I watched a montage of clips, and they were getting into his space and making him uncomfortable on just about every play. And that's what they're saying, that nobody's really done that with Mac Jones. And like y'all say, with the center being not as good as the first string guy, getting that pressure right in your face.
And I'll tell you this, I noticed it. I don't know about you. I thought the snap was slower. It was a slower snap, and he had just a half a second delay on normal. It messes up your timing and everything, but I could tell that there was a little bit of problem with the exchange, even though it was, in a what we called the old single wing.
Well, look, Najee had one 55-yard run, which was one of the most famous runs in college football history now, where he hurdles a guy.
Yeah.
But other than that, he's
Other than
averaging
3-4
about 3
yards
yards
a
a game.
That's right.
And so the running game wasn't, outside that one play, wasn't as good as it usually
I'm
is.
hoping.
Mike, last night,
How good did Derrick Henry look yesterday? Mike,
boy, they shut him down. Now, see, that's the.
he got tackled up before he even got in the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
That was awful.
Derrick Henry, I think he had 40, maybe 50 yards at the most for the game.
40 yards for a guy that runs for 180 against the end of the season.
And, you know, he's a great player, but he got to have blocking. Bo Jackson was the same way. All the great runners, you know, if you get them before they get started, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You know, keep them, that like if they're at full speed, you know, they're a lot different, you know.
Ohio State.
You think anybody in Vegas started crying last night when the Browns got up 28-0 in the first quarter?
That wasn't that unbelievable. Wasn't that an unbelievable game? How did that game finally end, Mike?
48-37.
48-37, and
Pittsburgh kind of came back and made it.
yeah, they came back, made it a game, but
Roethlisberger, who died, and I actually met in Vegas one time and talked to him. He's a really nice guy. He threw 4 interceptions and threw for 500 yards and 4 touchdowns.
he threw for 500 yards. I know he, and Gabe made it a game, but Cleveland scored 28 points in the first quarter, and it was just Roethlisberger had 4 interceptions. Is that right?
I saw the former Alabama safety Harrison plays for the Browns. Did he get one of them?
I don't know if Ronnie Harrison got one or not. Back close to get out of Carver plays one too.
I know. I thought he started, but they showed the starting lineup, and he wasn't a starter.
And his offensive tackle is Jared Phillips, who played Alabama.
Yeah, he's a good drag racer too.
Wills didn't play last night. Is that because of his drag racing?
No, did he not play?
He wasn't the left tackle.
Who is that?
He was their tackle all season. I wonder if they suspended him for the drag race.
He might have been banged up a little bit, but
I don't know.
You know, going back to Ohio State, they got some great news as well, because Michigan has extended the contract of Harbaugh.
Yeah.
You know, he's 49-22 overall.
Isn't that amazing?
And 34-16 in the Big Ten. 34-16 in the Big Ten.
That's not Michigan standards.
You know, something that we were talking about before we came on the show, Mike, which was unreal. The New Orleans game last night against Chicago was sort of a mismatch. Chicago played pretty good defense and hung in there. And late in the ball game, Breeze was fixing to put the game away, and he dived over the top and stuck the ball out, and both officials called it a touchdown. And they had a replay, and it lacked about a half a foot from being a touchdown. So the Bears took over on downs on the half foot line, and they hadn't done anything the whole time. Mike, the score was 21 to what was that score at the time?
21-3. I saw it.
21 the score was 21-3. I want you to hear this. 21-3, and the Bear quarterback took them the length of the field and scored a touchdown on the last play of the game. And the line on that game was 11 points. So out of all of that, total domination by the New Orleans team, I said to myself, gosh, I know a lot of people are upset because the line was 11, and with the extra point, they're going to cut it to 11, which was a push. And then I did not realize this, Mike, that all the people started running off the field. I said, what are they doing? They're going to kick the extra point, are they? Then I realized there was no time left on the clock. And New Orleans wins by 12, and Las Vegas has a stroke.
Yeah. That was getting ready to be the
Las Vegas was going to have a stroke, but then look here, they didn't have to kick the extra point.
That's called a bad beat when you have a bet locked up and then somehow you lose the bet in the last second.
On the last second, and the game would be, a field goal would have put it completely away, but he tried to dive over the top, and they stopped him. Oh yeah, but the first thought you had was, golly, can you believe that? And they lost all these bettors lost all their money.
I had a college game this year that I thought I was going to escape one of those backdoor covers, and then somebody scored at the end, and there was no extra point. And I said, "Darn, or
Yeah.
either they nailed."
So
they
that's a
didn't-
rule,
no,
not
no,
only.
No, here's what
yeah.
happened. They didn't even go for the extra point or go for two because there was a chance the other team could get a fumble and return it for 2
Yeah.
points. So they just took a knee.
Oh, did it? But wasn't that unreal the way that game ended? And just think the bookies everywhere were just sick because of that rule. You know.
How about Breeze versus Brady this weekend?
And
they're both over 40 years
that's
old.
going to be a good one.
They're 42 and 43 years
Y'all
old.
talk about Zach Efforts getting the Auburn defensive back job?
Yeah, we did, and of course, what a courageous guy, born and raised right here in Troy as Zacchaeus Etheridge, and you know, I saw him play as a defensive back most of his high school career, and then against Enterprise one night, they decided to put him at running back. I think
Yes.
he got 200 yards,
Yeah.
and I know the coach was saying all the time, man, why are we just now using this guy as a running back?
Same thing with Richard McBride. If you
Yeah.
think about neck injuries, just think about
McBride, same way.
McBride had a neck injury. Jarawa,
Right,
White
sure
had
did.
one. They all went to Auburn. They all had neck injuries.
All these
That's-
three, Zacchaeus,
rare.
Jara, and three of those kids were great football players, high school, went to Auburn, and their whole career was cut short by injuries.
Yeah, and Richard finished at
SMU.
Yeah, but
Southern
he
Methodist.
he can play another year, can't he, Mike?
Yeah, he'd be one of those 7-year players.
See, that would help him too.
Surely he'd like to try to go to the draft by now. If
Yeah.
you want to play pro football. You don't want to keep on playing in college. If you got a chance to play maybe special teams in the NFL.
Yeah, and we were talking about Richard McBride. They put him at running back later on the year, and I can
He
still
was
remember
rocking
me
and rolling.
saying this during the games for 35 years. I said, that's one of the best running backs I've ever seen at Charles Henderson. And they wait to the last game of the season to use him as a running back.
Yeah. And
They
you-
couldn't tackle him. He was that good.
And we lost to Aniana and Don Jacobs in the state championship game. And John Johnson, you know, who we lost tragically. You know,
Oh, man, what
he
a
was
great player.
Played at Troy University, number
He was
2.
a great player. You're right.
Yeah.
But you know, Auburn. I'm thinking y'all just named 3 guys from Charles Henderson that went to Auburn. Then Cade went to Auburn. There's
That's
been
right.
a lot of Charles Henderson players that went to Auburn.
You know, Kincaid, I thought was one of the greatest running backs I've ever seen. And I still put him up there against most everybody because he could outrun them. I mean, he was the fastest guy by far to ever play at Charles Henderson. And
They got this prop bet tonight. Mac Jones over under passing yards 365.
they think,
Goes for over 365 tonight.
you know what? I'd take that. I don't think he will. That's a lot of yardage right there.
I think he will because I think Ohio State might shut down Alabama's running game more than people think.
Yeah.
I tell you what I like tonight. Total receiving yards. Devontae Smith 135. I think he'll go over 135 receiving.
I wonder if they'll double team him or how will they defend him.
Another one that's interesting too is Najee Harris, 106 yards. That's a lot of rushing yards right there.
Now I will say this: Devontae and Najee, they are big game players. They show up when the stakes are big.
I like that, Mike, because I think they're going to run him 25 or 30 times. I think I think he's going to run the ball a lot. I don't know how well he's going to do, but he's going to run it a lot. I tell you what, I hope he runs it.
If they hit Devontae Smith just on an 80-yard touchdown, that 136 is pretty easy the rest of the
Yeah. Is it 36 or 6?
136.
136
Yeah, okay.
on receiver. I would take the 136 over.
What have they got Sermon running for?
Let me pull it up.
You know, and of course, he's a former
Or
Oklahoma
Fields.
running
Fields
back.
going to be the key. I think.
Yeah.
If Fields can't go, and I've already looked up their second string quarterback.
Sermon 98 yards over under, and then they got Justin Fields 55 yards over under.
Well, you know, Alabama has trouble running quarterbacks. They have trouble covering tight ends. They have trouble covering backs out of the backfield. You know, the linebackers for some reason can't get out there in the flats.
I looked up their depth chart. Their number 2 quarterbacks out of Arizona. He's about 6'3", 220.
I don't believe any of this hype about him not playing. I think he'll be there 100%. If not, Alabama will win that football game by 2 touchdowns or more.
Surely nobody in this game has COVID, Bill. Don't you think COVID? They probably put the COVID testing aside.
Yeah. Oh,
I
you're
have
good.
heard that they've all cleared their last COVID test. But yeah, I wonder if the powers that be might have said, let's just.
Now this
let's
pure
just
freshman,
slide on this last round.
this pure freshman was a safety.
We just need you to sign this waiver. Right?
Yeah.
Mike, the kid, the pure freshman, was he a safety or a corner?
Pure freshman, we come on.
The guy
What
that's not
position
gonna
he
play for Alabama.
play at Alabama?
He's a nickelback.
Oh, yeah. He's a great cornerback.
Malachi Moore.
Does he start?
Yes.
For Alabama
Oh, yeah, he's been a great player.
He's the 5th defensive back.
as a pure freshman? Isn't that
A
something?
big interception against Georgia. He's been great all year.
Yeah.
Super fast. That's the thing. Ohio State's got such fast receivers.
Okay, Mike, give me
Put him in there.
give me the deal. How many people can go to this game, and how much did they pay to get in the gate, or how much will they have to pay?
I think it's
I mean, only thing I saw 16,000. Is that right?
13 or 16,000, and I believe the ticket that I looked up last night was like $1,300.
$1,300 for it. We're
And
talking
I
about
didn't know
13,000.
that stadium only seats about 66,000. So if it's 20%, that would be about
Yeah.
13,000.
Somebody told me that Alabama didn't get down there until yesterday, or they didn't.
Alabama got down there Friday.
Oh, they did. They did
Friday.
get down there on Friday. But Ohio State had been down there all week, hadn't they?
No, they went Saturday.
Oh, they went Saturday. Okay.
They're saying that everybody wants to.
No partying going on for
Yeah.
those two teams, is that
No
right?
going out to the clubs before the game.
Yeah.
It's a business
I'm
trip.
on StubHub right now. The lowest ticket on StubHub.com right now is $1,250. A parking pass for the game is $70.
Isn't that amazing?
If we left
So
now,
it's going to cost, if you live now, it's going to cost you at least $1,400 if you include the parking.
Smokey and the Bandit.
But that is quite a game, and Big Al is ready. He is ready.
Upper end zone section 332. There's 6 tickets available at $1,200 each.
1,200 each. You got a what do they call those kind of seats, Mike?
nosebleed.
Nosebleeds. Yeah, exactly.
What's the weather going to be like? Do we know?
Yeah, that's important.
I can look it up.
Of course, Big Al is going to be there, ladies and gentlemen, and here we go. Hot wire now.
76.
It's gone to 76 now.
A kick will be 70 degrees.
That's good.
Perfect.
Humidity might be a little factor.
So it's going to be 76 degrees
70 at kickoff.
or 70.
Yeah, the high is 76. The kickoff will be at 70.
Okay, 70, and no rain in the forecast.
There's rain right now. It's drizzling right now, but the rest of the day is partly sunny.
I think this is important. They're going to play on grass, or they're going to play on artificial turf.
They're on grass, man.
Well, the
that's
rain's
gonna
drizzling
slow
now,
them down
but
a little bit,
it
don't
might
you
be
think?
Slick. Might be some slipping.
Won't that slow them down a little bit, being on grass?
I definitely think it slows down pass rushers, yeah.
Well, the $1 million band won't be there, is that right? But Big Al will be there somewhere, so look for Big Al to be there, and the Crimson Tide of Alabama. Alabama's going to be wearing red jerseys, is that right? I like them.
They've been showing promos of the jerseys hanging up in the lockers and the crimson jerseys.
I'm thinking it is going to be crimson, and I'm glad. I like Alabama better in crimson than I do in
Well, Alabama's the
white.
number 1 seed, so they would be get to choose. So
And Ohio State, I think, likes the white part. They're sort of like Dallas. I think they like white.
you know, a number
jerseys.
1 seed hasn't won this national championship ever in the playoffs.
Of course, been many
Exactly.
moons.
Well, I'll tell you one thing that's going to be very prevalent is a mask. Everybody's got to wear a mask. And if you see somebody that doesn't have a mask, kick him in the rear end. Because,
You're on. Look good. I like your glasses.
yeah, look at yeah, man, you look like you're clean shaven, too. Is that right?
Kid look.
You going to be watching the game from your home tonight?
I got to go by Spirit. It's
My kids stay with Mama in the big bed. She does a good job of keeping them away from Daddy because they have
You
learned.
get fired up.
Yeah, Mike,
Like
please.
everybody learned, do not get near my dad, my late dad in an Alabama. Can you imagine watching the game with my father?
Oh yeah.
You would know not to.
Hey,
do
but,
that.
hey, listen, the worst is Dickie Calhoun. Why would you like to watch the game with him?
Dickie Calhoun as a kid, I'd go to games with him, and I'd actually be scared we were going to be attacked in the stadium.
One of the dearest men in America, but buddy, when Alabama plays football, he is hard-nosed as they can get. Talking about our lawyer, probably the top lawyer in the state of Alabama, Dickie Calhoun.
It's on his game face.
Yeah, that's
But
right.
everybody in our family did.
The funny thing about Dickie Calhoun is he would scream and holler after everybody. It would be a delay. Everybody would
Yeah.
call out their systems, then there'd be that one guy who
Yeah.
heard over everybody. And it'd be
Let me tell you something that I do that so many people don't do, and you know some of you are going to disagree with me, but I think this is the way to watch the ball game. First of all, turn the radio on to the Alabama network, and then you've got the game being shown on TV. It's a difference. It's a delay where you can watch the play or hear the play on radio
A couple of seconds before
they show it
that
on
freaks
TV.
Me out, though. That doesn't bother
But
you?
well, I sort of like it because you get to see the play twice.
Yeah.
You know, all right, he stopped for a 2-yard gain, and then on the TV it comes up and you can see where he stopped and all that. You get to see the play twice.
You know what
And
I
like
do?
that.
In most games, I mute the sound. Everything I need is the down and distance where the ball is, and my brain is working so fast. I don't need the commentators, and sometimes they get on my nerves. And so normally I mute the sound.
Yeah. Yeah, I love to watch do Troy that way.
Y'all ever watch like the line of scrimmages during a game? Like I'll watch the offensive line display, or I'll watch the defensive line display. Do y'all ever do that during games?
Sometimes.
I don't do that enough. I feel like I should watch it more.
Well,
Like
they've got.
I get to third and long, and sometimes Alabama has trouble getting off the field on third and long. And I'll say, I don't want to watch that receiver break open, so I'll focus in on some defensive end or defensive lineman and say, get a pass rush.
Yeah. Now, this new thing now, they've got this new network now that shows the background information. Do y'all like that?
I've never watched them.
Have you seen it, Mike?
Yeah, you're talking about the sky view, like the blimp view.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
The stadium.
Yeah, that's a pretty good way to watch it.
You know, they're going to have it on like 6 or 7 different ESPNs tonight, and the SEC Network. You're going to have coaches doing commentary on certain channels. It's going to be unbelievable.
It's going to be really something, no question
What I
about
might
it.
do is I might record one of those to watch it later.
Yeah. I tell you what, now I used to do this, and I don't do this in public because the way I was talking to you, here in the radio, because it make people sort of mad. Here it is, I got my headphones on, and I can say, God, he scored a touchdown. And then these guys sitting over here say, what are you talking about? I'm watching on the screen, and it's not very good to be around other people when you're doing it. But just me sitting down and watching the game, I like to hear the broadcast of the radio, because they give more individual names out, like if he's hit knocked down by Bill Rice, you want to hear it, and Bill's from Troy,
You listen to Eli Gold, though, he'll start telling some story about growing up in Brooklyn. And
Yeah.
You say, just tell me where the ball is, what down is it, how far do they got to go?
I miss old Kenny, Kenny Stable I thought was a real good analyst, and, the guys they've had since, Mike, what do you think about them?
I think John Parker's getting a little better. I think Phil Savage was great. The former GM and the pros, and I think he was a Mobile native. I hate it when he left. I thought he was great.
Yeah.
Eli's
Well, that game
coming in.
again is a 7:00
The
kickoff.
line now is 9. Alabama's had 9 over under 75.
That's what I've got coming in today, 9 and 75. Mike, we look at this sometimes, and I've said this so many times. Don't bet with your heart, bet with your mind. So too many people bet with their heart. How many people say, well, I can't go against Alabama. I just can't do it.
No, I'll make.
But you know what? You're throwing out 9 points and boy.
I've always thought of it as an insurance policy, Mike. Say you're a huge Alabama fan like I am. You bet on Ohio State, you get 9 points. Alabama loses the national championship. You're upset.
Yeah.
But you say you put $200 on Ohio State.
Yeah, that's right. But you get it.
You're still pulling for Alabama, but you get $200, and you can win both ways. Say Alabama wins by 6 points, a touchdown. Well, your team won, and you won the bet and got.
That's right.
So to me, it makes logical sense to buy that insurance policy.
Yeah.
Especially when the other team's getting a lot of points.
Yeah, exactly.
So I will have money on Ohio State and be pulling for Alabama.
Everybody's going to buy that up to 10 now, 10.5 probably. You'll have,
What is that?
Point and a half, probably get it 10.5.
What you think it'll go to 10.5?
No, I'm saying they'll buy a point and a half.
Oh.
10.5. They'll just pay a lot of juice.
Oh yeah, well, I understand. If it was a 10-point line, I would think buying a half point would be smart.
Oh yeah. A lot of games decided by.
But again, we're not gamblers. We're just talking about it, and I know there's a lot of folks out there that are excited about the day. This is a lot of people are going to have folks over their houses and then a lot of people more than ever before will people just sit down and watch it from their home TV set and not worry about this virus and enjoy the game.
Talking about lines and betting, they used to never mention it, and now the point spread is right there on the screen. Every time they show the game.
Well, the game,
they talk about it for
the pro game. Those guys that were doing the commentary on TV, those guys that do it every week. They were laughing and laughing and laughing when it came back to them after the game was over. And one of them had forgotten that you didn't have to kick the extra point, or they were not going to kick an extra point. And New Orleans, who was the favorite by 11 points, ended up winning by 12. The bookies, they were just, they had to kill them.
I'll give you an example about betting against Alabama. Somebody I know bet on Notre Dame, and Alabama was covering late in the game, but who scored a late touchdown?
Yeah, that's right.
Notre Dame.
Who
covered that game last week?
I know it. You're right.
And so if you bet on Notre Dame, you're an Alabama fan. Your team won comfortably, and you won the bet.
Saban was upset.
How many people are going to call in sick to work tomorrow? A lot.
Oh yeah, exactly right. I got to call into something else, but I do have. This has helped me overlook what I've got in front of me, and so I'm glad I've got something to do tonight.
Take your mind off of it.
Yeah, exactly
Next year,
right.
we open up with Miami in Atlanta. Alabama does.
In Miami again?
No, we play Miami in Atlanta to open up the season. And Auburn's schedule next year on the 18th. They play Penn State in Penn State or at Pennsylvania.
And they're probably white out there, won't they?
And this will make you upset.
Everybody wear white.
Next year they're scheduled to play Georgia State, Auburn is, and Alabama State next year.
But no, they've got Big Al got a little upset there, but he's already beat out Big Albie for the championship of the SEC.
Yeah, Auburn's still got a lot of players transferring out as well, and Tennessee is in a total mess.
And I hate it. I hate it for
hire anybody while that investigation is going on.
Well, we got a local connection with that.
Yeah, exactly right. Want to mention our good friends at Goldfingers.
Next year with Southern, so that's exciting to look forward to.
With Southern University or what?
Yeah.
Southern, then Liberty, then Southern Miss.
Alabama opens the season going up against Southern, which is a 1AA team.
No, Troy does.
Troy.
Oh, Troy does.
Yeah.
Play Southern University.
Yeah, that's how we start the season out of Baton Rouge.
Okay.
Then the 11th we play Liberty. Then on the 12th of September, Southern Miss, and in October we play South Carolina.
All right, where do we play We play the Southern.
It's Malik Willis is back at Liberty, and Hugh Freeze is back at Liberty. That's gonna be Troy's first loss on September 11th.
Yeah. Where will that game be played at Liberty?
Troy.
No, in Troy.
In Troy. You know, I can remember going to a game at Liberty, and years ago with Coach Blayton, about 15 years ago, maybe even longer than that. And Liberty had a quarterback, and they were Mal Patano, the former Browns coach, was the coach at Liberty, and they beat us. Troy missed a field goal late, and Liberty beat us. Liberty's got a heck of a football team. That's going to be a great game. That'll be played the second weekend in September, or
So
what?
September the 11th in Troy.
In Troy, and of course, now who else do they play after that?
We'll go to Southern Miss on the 18th.
That'll be a good one. I hope we'll build a tradition there.
And in October, we travel to South Carolina.
Might be a good time to catch them, if we play
Could
well,
be. Could
I
be.
wonder if Troy is going to recoup any of that money they lost from playing, not having the Tennessee game. I've never heard that there was some clause in the
Yeah,
contract.
that's right. Yeah.
That was going to be $1 million payday.
Then we were going to play. I'm sort of glad we didn't play them now. North Carolina State got to be pretty good at the end of the year, but that was another game we didn't get.
Got paid all season to travel, I guess, is BYU. The only money game they had.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, BYU comes to Troy in 2026.
2026.
BYU comes to
I
Troy.
hope I'm alive then.
You'll be here.
Hope that you're enjoying our show today, ladies and gentlemen. Brought to you by Premier Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, and Ram trucks. And will the winner of the Premier Yeti cooler? We've got our. I took Alabama. You took Alabama. And all four of y'all took Alabama, and I think Will Matthews took Alabama. So.
Who did Jason take?
We don't know yet.
You haven't gotten to Jason yet?
No, but I will.
Okay.
He's going to give himself a
Jason Gregory.
What if Jason wins his own Yeti cooler? That'd be
I don't know, but the winner of tonight's game wins a how do y'all pronounce it? Yeti cooler.
Yeti.
And that is a wonderful, wonderful cooler.
a Yeti cooler.
And I'm gonna try to get one of those bigger ones. Somebody told me those big ones retail for over $500. Is that true? That's a pretty, and of course, Premier, every time you buy a car or truck from Premier, they give you one of those, and I think that's very, very nice little
Another incentive to buy a
gift
car. Yeah.
to buy a car from a great dealership, Premier Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, and Ram trucks. We've got also, I want to mention Troy Bank and Trust Company, the only bank you'll ever need now with 14 locations to choose from. And, of course, since their merger with First National Bank of Brundage, Troy Bank and Trust Company is a billion-dollar bank. We'll be back in just a moment. I don't know. Let's see here. There we go.
At the Piggly Wiggly, we proudly support our local farmers and bring you the best they have to offer, all at cost plus 10%. When you shop local, you reinvest in your community. Remember, buy local, shop local. Piggly Wiggly, local since forever.
Our history is woven with the stories of those we serve. At Max, we've been a good community partner for 65 years. Max is dedicated to providing dependable financial services and to supporting our communities. We volunteer our time and share our resources. As a credit union, we've returned millions of dollars back to our members, local nonprofits, and small businesses. Max is honored to be a part of your story. We look forward to serving you for years to come.
Hi, Sandy. I'm right here. Come on in.
Eddie, I'm right here. Hello, Miss Mary. I'm right here. I'm right here.
Since 1969, we've been right here because at Troy Regional Medical Center, we take these words to heart.
I'm right here. Thank you.
Remarkable people, remarkable care.
Trojan Auto Parts of Troy, home of Napa Know-How. Stop by and see owners Mike and Melissa Kilcrease and their Napa Know-How team with over 100 years of combined experience. We're the only locally owned parts store in Pike County, and we're fully stocked and ready to serve you. We pride ourselves on being your go-to parts store, not only for the simple items, but we specialize in those hard-to-find items as well. Trojan Auto Parts, the right part at the right price at the right time. Napa, a name you've trusted here in Troy since 1945.
Troy Cable Security Wi-Fi doorbell camera allows you to answer the door from your smartphone when you are at home, at work, or on the go. When a visitor presses the button, Troy Cable Security sends a live video feed to your smartphone so you can see, hear, and speak to the person at your door. With the doorbell camera, you can have your porch light turn on automatically when it detects motion at night to create the appearance that someone is at home. You can view video clips so you can always know who stopped by when you were out. Troy Cable Security. You love them, protect them.
Talking about it.
Well, that's wonderful.
What does it do, Bill?
It takes your blood out of your body. It takes it
Back
out of
to our show, ladies and gentlemen, and the Crimson Tide of Alabama getting ready to kick off tonight for the national championship against the Ohio State Buckeyes. And Big Al is ready and willing to go the length of the field to win the football game for Alabama. Right now, it looks like a tremendous football game between two very good football teams. And you know who the big winner is here? ESPN. Just think of the advertisements for this ball game and the money that these networks will make televising this game.
Hey, did you ever see the ratings for the semifinals, Forrester Michael? Was that good?
I did not. I went through.
And the thing is, wherever you go, if you go outside the premises of your own home, you wear that mask. And I'm talking about if you're going out to somebody else's home to watch the ball game, wear your mask. Don't spread this thing. It's worse than it's ever been, Rice.
I traveled through Tuscaloosa this weekend, and Abby and I went to Starkville, Mississippi, and I got to visit with Phyllis Tompkins.
Well, that's great. That's great.
She is great. Mr. Jim's doing well. He does an exercise class early in the morning for some older men, and they're doing real well. And their daughter, Paige, who's a graduate of Charles Hudson High School, she is a doctor in the education department at the University of Georgia. But Miss Page looked real good. I mean, Miss Tompkins, Mrs. Tompkins, and had a nice visit with her. And I'll say this, and we've said it before. Coach Whitman, Mrs. Tompkins, and Steve Miller at one time had one of the best physical education programs in the country.
Well, I agree with you.
If there's one better, I'd like to see it because I was a part of it.
Phenomenal.
No question about it. Great teachers, no question.
I was an all-conference gym hockey player. I scored like 6 goals in one game.
Gym hockey player.
Badminton, canoeing, swimming.
I loved team handball. That was good.
Badminton, table
tennis. Well, y'all back when I was
square dancing.
I love the concussion I got playing dodgeball with a bunch of 8th graders and a 6th grader.
Yeah.
120 pounds one day.
I tell you what, that dodgeball on a rainy or a cold day, that's what we played a lot of dodgeball in. You had skins and shirts, and I happened to be a skin when I was in the 7th grade, and those boys threw it so hard you could read the word "void" on the back of my jersey. Y'all know what I'm talking about?
I do. Yeah.
The volleyball, the dodgeball was made by Voight, and it had an inseam in the back of my back. Oh gosh! And
you sit out there look at the PE coaches, they just be laughing.
Oh yeah, that's exactly right. And then back when I was in school, they had square dancing on a bad day, on a real cold day or a rainy day. The boys and girls would square dance. It was a lot of fun because a 7th grader square dancing with a 9th grader girl was a lot of fun. you know, you got to be with all those pretty girls. Will Waddle play? Will Waddle play tonight? The great kick return.
I heard the Ohio State. Who? Joey Galloway said last night.
Joey Galloway, the wide receiver
from Ohio State years ago.
He does a good job.
That the issue isn't him running; it's stopping. He'll be able to run fine, but it's cutting and slamming on the brakes. You know, the issue for somebody like that.
Exactly, and a lot of people think that if he plays, he could.
Running deep.
And we're talking about a guy that's going to get a lot of money to sign with the pros, and he could get hurt. You're talking about a guy that opting out. He should be opting out, but I don't know if he will or not.
He's worked this hard to try to get back. Surely he'll try to play.
They gave an example of somebody. Greg McElroy gave an example of somebody who did it. Terrell Owens broke a leg or something, and then it sat out for 7 games and came back and played in the Super Bowl. Somebody said, "Oh, he'll never play, or he won't play very many downs." He played about 80% of the downs, and he caught 130 yards worth of passes after being out for 8 weeks.
Of course, Alabama just hired Will Friend, former Alabama offensive lineman, as their offensive line coach. So,
Auburn did.
Auburn hired him.
What did I say?
Alabama.
Oh man, what am I? I got Alabama on my mind.
He
Sorry
played
about
Alabama,
that.
isn't that right?
But Auburn has hired. It looks like to me he's put together a pretty good staff. They should do it, don't you think?
Well, he was going to South Carolina, and so was Bobo was going to stay, but now they're at Auburn. And I read reports this morning that several coaches from Tennessee who are still on staff are trying to find somewhere to go because of the instability at Tennessee.
Isn't that amazing?
But Friend is going to.
Derek Ansley's on that staff.
He's going to Auburn. Auburn's going to be good.
Mike Derek Ansley.
There's a lot of spots open in Tuscaloosa on the offensive side of the ball. Looks like with Sarkisian getting the Texas job. I know the offensive line coach is going to be the offense coordinator, Flood, leaving, and then a couple other, I think, receivers coaches leaving as well to go with Sarkisian.
Well, when you're successful, sometimes these guys get an opportunity to improve their status, and we're talking about their way of life and living. Then you told me
Did you watch the beautiful golf tournament in Hawaii, the Century Championship? PGA Tour's back, and Amos out of Georgia won yesterday, 25 under. He beat Neef, who was 25 under in a playoff. Justin Thomas out of Alabama was 24 under, so he was just right there.
I heard that he sort of showed out a little bit, Mike. Did you hear anything about Justin Thomas sort of showing out a little bit?
Well, he said some derogatory comments when he missed the putt, and he was getting a lot of bad exposure.
You're not telling me he used a curse word, did you? You're not telling me he used a curse word.
He talked about a group of people in the wrong way.
He used a slur, a homophobic slur.
Well, I tell you what, it hurt him a little bit. A lot of people are upset about it.
Yeah, he's definitely gonna. I mean, I'm sure gonna have to do some sensitivity training and some classes, and probably something he's gonna definitely have to pay the price for.
Yeah, I will almost bet you that he'll be at the or on the sideline tonight. What do you think?
Not from Hawaii.
With COVID issues, I can only person I can think that will probably surely be there because he owns a house, and I saw him with Saban yesterday was Tua.
Shoot.
I think Tua might be on the sidelines. I don't know if they're gonna let him.
That would be good to see Tua out there, wouldn't it? Shane Gailey has resigned. Is that right?
Yeah.
So he finishes. I would think this would finish his career.
The big news in the NFL, there's going to be a blockbuster trade. Possibly Deshaun Watson will waive his no trade clause, and they're talking about a huge blockbuster trade where Watson will go to Miami and Tua will go to the Houston Texans. That's up there right now as well.
What is your feeling? I would take Tua over Watson. Watson has not been that good of a pro quarterback. What do you think?
Man, he threw for over 4,000 yards this year.
He did. I didn't know that stat, but I did. They haven't won a whole lot of games, though, have they?
He was upset because he didn't get to help work on the general manager that was hired at Texas. That's the reason he's upset.
I mean, would y'all take Deshaun Watson over Tua?
Right now, probably would.
Yeah,
He's 25 years old and as healthy as a horse.
Real small.
He really does. He does look small.
And the arm strength just doesn't look like it's there. I mean, I don't know if that injury, and maybe it'll take another year, but he didn't look like the same quarterback to me.
Yeah. Want to say hello to Will Matthews this morning. I would have thought he would have called by now. Of course, with the Matthews Law Firm in Ozark, an outstanding group of people that represent one of the finest law firms in Alabama, the Matthews Law Firm in Ozark.
Apparently Bus golf club. I mean, y'all play golf at Bear Bus.
Man, I tell you what now, let me tell you.
The other day he said 35.
I wonder what would Coach Brian doing you the Vanderbilt golfer. I don't know.
Coach Bryant wanted a ringer on his golf team, and he got one in Will.
Let me just tell you this: I'm not going to get into that. If he said it was so, it was so. Yeah. And of course, Coach Bryant wasn't the greatest golfer of all time by any means, and that red pant deal that was quite a story. where the preacher wanted his red pants.
Boise State fired a coach. They fired the former player Andy Avalos, who's now the new head coach of Boise State. He was the defense coordinator at Oregon.
Yeah.
So now that job is been found a new coach for Boise State. I think there's no other jobs open out there, is there?
Do y'all watch the beginning
not to my knowledge.
Sunday night football on NBC, Football Night in America, they call it?
Yeah.
Joe Namath is doing these little
commercials. He's
commercials
going to be playing
right
golf
before
with me
it.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
And these little commentaries, and he's doing a really good job. They're funny.
Namath, man, he shows off his teeth, doesn't he?
Michael, we talked about it earlier, but Mark Hudspeth, who used to be at Austin Peay, Louisiana Lafayette, and North Alabama, he will be the new head coach at Gulf Shores.
Going into high school coaching, Hudspeth, Mike had a big future in college coaching, but now he has been relegated to high school coach.
Yeah, he won 4 straight years with Louisiana Lafayette, won the conference championship a couple times, and then he got put Lafayette on probation, recruiting violations, off the field issues, get all kinds of stuff going on. Then kind of something similar happened at Austin Peay.
But he's a very good coach.
Yeah, great coach.
You know what people said about him? I tell you something else about him. He and Chiswick would be a pair. Both of them are big bodybuilders.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, they do.
Of course, again, tonight's big game, and it's going to be a great one to watch. Mike, 9 points, and Ohio State. The Ohio State I saw looked pretty darn good. And like you said, that nose tackle.
It's so fresh. This is only their, this is what, their 7th game, 8th game, Alabama's 13th game.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that's a huge factor.
Yeah.
I mentioned talking to Max the other day that, is Alabama going to be mentally fatigued? Because Alabama's had big game after big game after big game, and sometimes you just kind of deflated. It's hard to stay up every single game.
No question about it. Of course, this show is brought to you by Bird Drugs on the Corner in downtown Troy. And Joe, good morning to you. I hope you're enjoying your day. Of course, Joe, my good friend, we have a lot in common, and been friends for a long time. And it's good to know he's doing well. I want to mention also our friends over at, I don't know. I was telling you guys the best chicken in town is Gold Fingers. Have y'all tried it?
I have.
Boy, their chicken wings are outstanding. I recommend a bunch of Gold Fingers wings for your tailgate party tonight. And, boy, I tell you, great place to eat. Of course, Crow's Chicken on North 39th Street, they haven't missed a beat. And, their food is outstanding. Of course, those chicken nuggets cannot be compared anywhere. I've seen a lot of people try to compare them, but I haven't seen anybody beat their chicken yet. Have you?
No. And then
Troy's got unbelievable chicken finger places. I mean, you got Crow's, you got Goldfingers, you got Mossy Grove's got great chicken fingers. Sisters has got unbelievable chicken fingers. I mean, it's just amazing, the chicken finger place.
I ate Sunday dinner at Julia's yesterday, and they've got really good chicken tenders. It was on the buffet yesterday.
Yeah.
That's what
I'm not talking about chicken fingers as much as chicken wings. And I'll tell you this, Half Shell is not one of my sponsors, but they have wonderful chicken wings. I love their barbecue chicken wings. They're really good.
I grew up with Brad Ward, and Scott Ward. This guy's our good old boys. Brad's done a good job at the Half Shell. He used to have that big steak out there like we used to go out there and eat.
Yeah, and of course, that's great. Mossy Grove's got a good steak. Just tell them you want the Mike Amos cut, the thick cut, and I promise you'll get a great steak at Mossy Grove.
You sit in that barber chair afterwards, and she cuts your hair.
Well, she cuts my hair. She and I are very good friends, Mike. Don't be talking about her. She's one of my very good friends from Luverne, Alabama.
Yeah, she's
Sylvia.
Sylvia. I tell you what, she's a doll. I tell you, and anybody would want somebody like Sylvia, because before you get there, you say, well, I wonder what Sylvia's got to say today. And the first thing, they've got that barber chair in there, and of course, for years she's been saying, how do you want your hair cut? Well, you can tell I've had my hair cut, and gonna have it cut again, I'm afraid.
I want to know one person that's ever been to Mossy Grove who didn't eat more than one hush puppy.
Oh, God.
I've ever had in my life.
They really are good. They really are good, no question about it. And the food is excellent, and and I think their service is really, really good.
Since I've been back to Troy, I haven't been out there enough, and I'm going to fix that. It's always been one of my favorite restaurants.
I've been reading about your brother Bobby, and enjoyed the article on Bobby Rice.
I missed it.
Is he enjoying? Did you help him move in?
No, thank goodness he didn't ask me to help him.
Oh, God.
That's one of my worst. I don't know if I could do it anymore. It would be a health hazard to try to.
But he's in and already going to work. Is that right?
Yeah, and his kids are having their first day of school at Pike Liberal Arts today.
That's great.
Talking about Mossy Grove, I remember James Bell used to play the piano out
Oh, man, he was great.
years ago.
Jim Bell, the late Jim Bell.
Oh, what a great man
he was.
I used to see him at the Red Bar down here in Grayson all the time.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
He taught.
He would see him down here all the time, and he would talk to us forever, and he would cut up, live with us.
He's a class operator. I'm trying to stay my distance, but I'm getting out off the screen. This show brought to you by Pike Tree Service, and boy, you talking about doing a great job. When somebody can come into your yard and cut down a tree, and then a few minutes later, you walk back and say, well, where was that tree that we cut down? Because he's going to clean it up. He's going to make it look just as good as it was before they cut it down, and he does a great job. I want to mention also Green Hills and men, Benny and Chrissy, they do it right. They're first-class individuals, and they have a wonderful Green Hills Funeral Home right here in Troy. And, of course, their cemetery, Green Hills Memorial Gardens, is just beautiful, beautiful place.
Love to take the kids out there to see his Bramer cattle.
Oh, yeah.
They're beautiful.
He's been in the cattle business a long time, and the horse business a long time. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, this is tough times, as far as the virus goes, and people have got to be conscious. Please be conscious of wearing that mask before everywhere you go. And
there's a lot of people out there that we're extremely close to that are suffering greatly and are exhausted. I'm on text and calls every day about a dear friend of ours. It's just been absolutely awful. It really has been. And then,
but you know what? The Lord Jesus Christ is going to come in.
That are not even true. I mean, I know people in Troy care, but man, you're hearing stories that are not even true that come up in text and calls, and then I have to call the actual people that are involved, and they're telling me it's not true. So, I mean.
All right, yes, exactly.
People is all I can say.
And this is.
If you don't hear anything from the actual family members, wait for you till you hear from them.
Exactly right. Well, our prayers and our thoughts with that family and so many other families that are going through all this. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to close early for the Sanders Truck Line show.
Once you tell everybody you're going to have some.
No, we don't need it. We don't need to get into that. They know I will have surgery on Wednesday in Birmingham. That is all I need to say. But I will say this, that we're excited about tonight's game from Miami, Florida. It's the Crimson Tide of Alabama and the Ohio State Buckeyes in what should be one of the best football games in college football history.
What do y'all think about
Now,
in the Sarkeesian fact?
At the Piggly Wiggly, we proudly support our local farmers and bring you the best they have to offer, all at cost plus 10%. When you shop local, you reinvest in your community. Remember, buy local.